I just got to share a little bit about my story. A lot of you that have, been following me for several years, we kind of had a phone call on March the 1st that changed the direction that we were going. And I had Tony and I met a couple of years ago, and he shared what he was doing here. And at the time, I didn't have time really to focus on it. And I kind of bought, you're going to hear about a node. It's really just a server that I'm going to call it a chicken. Tony, it's a chicken, right? Because I love to eat eggs. So, but anyway, he shared this with me, and we basically just pumped oil or gathered eggs for a year. And on March the 1st, March 2nd, actually, when we got our call that our company was going in a different direction, Tony and I communicated again. And I was telling him, I was kind of bummed out, to be honest, because the owners of that company kind of went in a different direction and took away what we had done completely. I mean, my income just basically went to zero overnight. And I had shared with Tony that, I had a certain dollar amount that I wanted to achieve. And I'm gonna remember this to the day I die. I shared that with him, and he told me, well, we've got a few people that are doing that a day. And I kind of perked up and I leaned into him and I said, Tony, you tell me what I got to do to get that, and I'm going to go do it. And he did. And today I can say it almost happened. All right. It almost happened in a day. But anyway, I want to introduce Tony Swantek to you all. And first of all, I got to share this about Tony. Those of you that don't know him, he is a founder of multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. All right, we can back up, and I'll let him kind of share a little bit about it. But he built not one, not two, but three multi-billion-dollar companies in about a 4-year window. So the guy kind of knows what he's doing. One of those industries actually was in the accounting firm. And, he serves over 30,000 clients in that accounting firm. He also started a delivery service during that time. And you probably have heard about this one, My Town to Go. It was actually rated in the top 500 Inc. 500 companies. It finished in 2020. It finished 416. Tony has also done, several different business ventures that he's, been a multiple 7 and even an 8-figure earner in those industries. And, I like getting around people that make things happen. And it was about a week ago on Tuesday, I had been talking to Tony. I said, Tony, I really want to get around you. I want to get into your head a little bit. And he called me at noon on a Tuesday and said, well, I'm going to be in Salt Lake on Wednesday. If you can get up there, I'll pick you up and you can kind of travel up with me. So I looked at my wife and I said, we're going, so I had to cancel some meetings. I had to get my airline tickets booked. We had to fly to Salt Lake, and we made it happen. I left at noon and we packed and we drove to Kansas City and flew out first thing Wednesday morning and met him. And I tell you, when I got to share that day and a half with him and he was really breaking down what we're doing here, I got excited. And Tony, I just cannot say thank you enough. I know you could be in 100 different places, but I really like getting around people that know what's happening in the world and how things are changing. And we're on the front edge of that. So Tony Swantek, I'm going to introduce you to everybody here and just kind of let you take it over.
Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it. And definitely was good to see you in Salt Lake. That was a quick trip for both of us, I guess. I was in Wednesday, meeting Thursday, and out Friday, and then I was on a cruise Saturday. So it's been a whirlwind, but definitely excited to share a little bit about the project we're working on and how you guys maybe could help us build our community and benefit financially from helping us build our blockchain community. And I'm assuming, a lot of people are pretty new into the blockchain space. I actually have been pretty heavy into blockchain. I'd say recently, the last 2.5 years, I've been in the cryptocurrency space quite a bit longer. Our company started buying Bitcoin back in 2013 and just kind of holding on to it. And I think, it should be worth probably 2 million a coin. I might be right. I might be wrong. At the end of the day, that's what I think it should be. That's my opinion. But I built, as Curtis said, several traditional businesses. In 2017, a friend of mine that had done really well in Bitcoin called me about a trading company doing cryptocurrency trading. He had built a software. And in 2017, you could throw a dart at a cryptocurrency and it was probably going to go up. And so it was a really good time to be in crypto trading. And we did really well. In 2018, same guy reached out to me. He said, Tony, he goes, you need to buy nodes in this project called Gala Games. I'm not that tech savvy, so my first question was, what the heck is a node? I was unaware of what that was. And he said, well, it's software, and you can put it on your computer, and this blockchain community, they will pay you to borrow your computer power, to use your computer power. And I said, well, how much do they pay you? I was interested, and he said, well, they give you Gala tokens. And I said, okay, well, how much is a Gala token worth? And he said, well, right now, nothing. And I go, that sounds amazing. You're going to borrow my computer, give me this magic internet money that's not worth anything. He said, well, it's not worth anything now, but if people start playing these games, they were building these games you can play on your phone or computer, and they use this token inside the game, which I didn't really understand. But he said, if they're using a lot of this token, it could be really valuable. And honestly, I didn't know much about it, but I said, I'll give you 10 grand to buy these nodes, really just to kind of shut him up more than anything. And I forgot about it, and about 2 years went by and not much had happened. They hadn't even launched one of their games yet. They were still in development phase. And people were pretty upset about how slow it was going. And my buddy refunded everyone that bought nodes from him. And a few of us said, hey, we don't need the refund. And I remember he said, listen, I've already pushed the refund out. If you really want these nodes, call me in a couple weeks. I'll help you redo the transaction. And I was like, all right, I'll call you in a few weeks. And I never called him. I wanted to, I just forgot. I don't know if you ever forgot to do something, but I wasn't playing games or anything like that on a phone, so I was like, I'm not gonna, I just never thought to call him back. At that time, and Curtis kind of mentioned, we had a restaurant delivery service. There was an E500 company back in 2020. We were exiting. We actually sold a third of that business, and we're merging the other 2/3 with a company called delivery.com. We had some offers from like Uber, DoorDash, some other big companies, and Cantor Fitzgerald, the big investment bank in Wall Street, owns delivery.com. And they made us a really good offer. And I remember I was flying into New York. Their office is in the S&P 500 building on Wall Street. So it's kind of a cool office to be meeting in, and just trying to get that deal to the finish line. I never thought to call my buddy back about some gaming blockchain deal, which I didn't even understand, and didn't think of it for probably another year and a half. And then at about a year and a half later, I saw my buddy posting on Facebook about this Gala Games project. And I remember it hit me. I was like, uh-oh, like I never called my buddy back. I kind of forgot. And I reached out to him on Facebook. I was like, what's up with Gala Games? And he was like, he sent a Zoom link, and he was just like, get on. So I clicked the link, and he's like, bro, he goes, there's millions of people playing these games right now. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I started selling these tokens, these Gala tokens, over the last few months. And I asked him, I said, how much have you sold? And he said, a little over $40 million worth. And we're pretty good friends. I was like, I thought he was kidding. So I was like, how much have you really sold? And he goes, a little over $40 million. And he started pulling up his trading platforms, like his software that he used to trade his exchanges, and showing me trading history. And I was like, okay, you sold over $40 million. And we have another friend that had actually started that project. I said, our buddy Wright, I said, how much has Wright made off of this deal? And he said, $4.3 billion. And then I asked him what I probably shouldn't have. I said, if I would have called you back a year and a half ago and bought these nodes, because he explained to me kind of, he said, if you buy a cryptocurrency, like a coin or a token, he said it's kind of like buying eggs. And you eat your eggs for breakfast. The next day, you eat some more eggs for breakfast. The next day, you're out of eggs. You got to go back to the grocery store. You got to buy more eggs, and that's pretty normal. He said, if you buy a node, it's like buying the chicken. It's like having chickens in your backyard where you got a coop, and you never need to go to the grocery store again. Just every day you go in and get your eggs. And the next morning there's more eggs there. That, I asked him, I said, if I would have bought those nodes, like, how many eggs would I have? Like, how many tokens would my nodes have laid, And he goes, he does the math for me. And he says, if you sold all of them today, it would be a little over $11 million worth. And I remember wondering, I was like, I wonder if I could even sell that many, like 11 million. Is there enough like trading volume to sell that much? How liquid is this asset? And that day I looked, the daily trading volume was a little over $4 billion for the day. I was just thinking, like, I could have sold 11 million in 11 minutes. Like, it would have been a really quick sale. And I chalked it up as a missed opportunity. I think, unfortunately, it wasn't the first. Probably more unfortunately, it won't be the last. But I think we've all been in a position in our lives where maybe we've been at the right place at the right time, but didn't realize it, or maybe like me, didn't take the final actions that I needed to kind of capitalize on being at the right place at the right time. And that's life. I just went out and kept building different businesses. As Curtis said, we built some pretty big companies. Our accounting firm, I started that in July of 21. And by October of 23, we had gone over $10 billion in tax credit filings with over $2 billion in profit. And so it was a really big company. Over 1,000 employees and contractors had come on staff by that point. And around that same time, my buddy Wright, that had made $4.3 billion on the Gala project, reached out to me, and he was like, hey, I want you to come to Vegas and see what we're working on, the blockchain projects. I think you can help us drive revenue through our blockchain projects. And I told him, I said, man, I've got no bandwidth right now. I was so busy. I was actually in LA for meetings for our tax firm. And then I was flying back to Kansas the next day. And he goes, just stop in Vegas for one day. And normally 99 out of 100 of my friends would have asked that. I would have said no. But Gala, that project, that was the #1 performing cryptocurrency in the world during that bull run in 2021. They had hit a $40 billion market cap. And there were days where their market cap was higher than Tesla's that year. And so, I felt like if your buddy creates a $40 billion company, maybe you should stop in Vegas for a day. There's worse places, I guess, that he could have asked me to stop by. And so I said, you know what? I'll see what you guys are working on. And they had several different blockchain projects they had developed at that time. They had decentralized agriculture, healthcare, decentralized energy. They had a banking blockchain. And I remember the CEO of the banking blockchain. I knew her. She didn't companies. We have a pretty big credit card processing company. And her name's Kathy Roberts. She was one of the original founders of Discover Card. And she was the first president of Discover Bank. And I remember thinking, man, banking and blockchain don't go together. And here's one of the more influential bankers of my life talking about blockchain. If you've ever gotten cash back on a credit card transaction, you can thank Kathy Roberts and her executive team. They invented that. They created that. And the other credit card companies had to pretty much fall in line, or we probably would just use the companies that were going to pay us to use them. And so she created that. And so I remember she spent probably 15 minutes explaining to me what she thought about blockchain. And she said in the next 5 to 10 years, blockchain technology would make everyone on the planet bankable. And I listened to her, and it made a lot of sense. And I remember after that, I was busy, but anytime I had appointments that started late or that ended early, I would take 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and try and learn everything about blockchain, Web3. And it became pretty evident to me that it was one of the biggest shifts of wealth in history that was coming upon us. I remember I came across an article from the World Economic Forum. It was written in 2021, so it was a couple years old when I found it. And it said that blockchain technology would disrupt up to $867 trillion in traditional markets. And I was thinking, my degree's in finance and economics. I was like, that's not a once in a lifetime number. That's a one-time number. And so I was just thinking, like, as an entrepreneur, how do we position ourselves to take advantage of that? And if you're not into blockchain, you're new. I remember telling Kathy Roberts, I said, blockchain, cryptocurrency, it's all the same to me. And she goes, Tony, that's like saying email and the internet are the exact same thing. She's like, yeah, you use the internet to send an email, but you can do a heck of a lot more than send emails with the internet. And she said, cryptocurrency is a tiny part of what blockchain technology can do for society. And I remember thinking, if you get bored sometime, you can, or have trouble sleeping at night, you can Google blockchain voting patent, and you'll see that the United States Postal Service has owned that patent for over 5 years now. You could end voter fraud using blockchain technology. You could end voter fraud around the world like that. It's that cool of a technology. It's that important of a technology. And it does a lot more than just secure voting. But at the end of the day, I looked at some of the biggest problems. And I told them, I said, listen, everything you're working on is amazing, but it's a pretty heavy lift to decentralize banking, decentralizing agriculture. I said, have you guys thought of doing a communications blockchain where you could do phone system, you could do email, you could do a blockchain-based messenger like a Telegram or a WhatsApp, you could do video conferencing? And I said, that's where I would start. And I remember Kathy was curious. She said, why do you think video conferencing? And I said, well, Kathy, I said, you got a pretty big industry. At that time, Zoom was probably around a $22 billion market cap with over 300 million users a day. And I knew there were 3 areas that we could attack Zoom pretty aggressively. Pricing was one. Conversion, really presenting and converting sales, was the other. And then technology, utilizing blockchain technology. I felt like we could solve some pretty major problems in the world. And I knew with Jorns and Associates, my accounting firm, we actually, when we moved over to Arlink from Zoom, it cut our costs by over $3,000 a year. Pretty substantial. And we just launched beta for the full white label version. And Jorns is one of the first white labels that have been in the beta. And actually, it's our own domain. It's meet.jornstax.com. It's our own logo. In the top left, it's not Arlink Studio, it's Jorns Tax. The color scheme is the Jorns Tax color scheme. So it is fully branded our own platform, which as an entrepreneur, if I can keep people inside my brand instead of sending them to Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, I'm definitely going to keep them inside my brand. And even with the white label, it still saves us over $1,000 a year to use our own label than to use Zoom. So it was a no-brainer on price. But when it came to presenting, it's so cool because we can present inside the platform. Like if somebody says, well, I want to learn more about, the project, or I want to see some of the presentations you can do. Like I pulled up a static web page where I can scroll down and you can see the basic pricing at $15 a month. The business pricing's at $50 a month. I can also pull up an interactive web page. You guys are now in control of your own screen. You can scroll at your own pace. You can scroll down and look at the pricing. You can change the pricing from monthly to annual, but you're in control of each of your own screens. If I'm done sharing, I can just close it out. If I want to show a presentation, I can certainly share my screen and go into a PowerPoint, or I can just preload a presentation and start going through a slideshow, which it's just as easy for me to present from my phone as I can from a computer. And if I'm done with the presentation, I can shut down the presentation. If somebody says, well, we've got a video that we like to share, I can go right into a video.
Do you ever wish you'd played?
If I want to fast forward, I can fast forward. If I'm, wanting to pause the video, I've got a key part. I can pause the video. If I'm done with the video, I can just close the video out. And so with Zoom, I would have to share screen, change audio setting from microphone to computer, wait 5 seconds, skip a YouTube ad, and then we'd be watching the video. Here, I just go right into it. And if somebody says, this is amazing, like I want to buy this, I can pull up a call to action. And it's all customizable. What's great about like our tax firm, I have call to actions where it'll pull up and allow them to basically just enter their credit card info. I've also got contracts I can pull up where I can have a client, if I want to do a research and development tax credit client, I can have them e-sign right inside the platform. I can't tell you how many times I've had to get on the phone with a potential client and go, hey, did you get the DocuSign? Is it in your spam? Check your spam. And go down to page 3 and initial there. Like you're flying blind. You don't know where they're at. You don't know if they even found your document versus me sitting here watching them go through the document, say, yeah, don't forget to initial there, sign there at the bottom. And then I can sign on behalf of our accounting firm. And now we've got a fully executed agreement with a full audit trail. It's just a better mousetrap. It's much easier to convert a sale if I'm doing it inside a platform versus saying, hey, I'm going to put a link in the chat, click on it. Hopefully it takes you where it needs to go. We can do everything inside the platform. And then the blockchain is really what gives us a massive advantage. And I think one of the best use cases of blockchain is going to be data ownership. As humans, I think as a society, we've really conceded to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has been listening to me this whole time. I think, Google, Jeff Bezos, ChatGPT, Bill Gates and Sam Altman, they're going to make trillions of dollars off of our data. And I know, we've all probably had times in our lives where we've been talking about something and it just shows up on our phone, in an advertisement or whatever. We're on a Virgin cruise. It's actually a business networking cruise. One of my buddies puts it on every year. There's over 515, I think, people from our San Juan Social Club group, a lot of high-level entrepreneurs and great people to be around. And I remember my wife and I, we're not big cruisers, honestly. Our last one was like 8 years ago or something, and we did the Alaska cruise, which was amazing, actually. If you've never done that one and you like cruises, that's the one to do. But I told her, like, we're probably looking, the next cruise we do, probably going to be the Mediterranean. And there's a Ritz-Carlton cruise ship that looks really amazing. I was like, we ought to do the Ritz ship if we're going to do that. And we had that conversation. And then literally the next morning on my Facebook feed, there was an ad for the Ritz-Carlton cruise line. And I was like, Mark, Zuckerberg, I know you're listening to me, man. And it's like, that's life. But if we ask the 5.5 billion people who are online and we said, listen, you can continue with the status quo and you can have ChatGPT and Facebook and Amazon and Google and all these huge corporations make trillions of dollars every year off of all of our revenue and all of our data. Or we could make an extra $1,200 a year off of owning and controlling our own data. Every single person would choose to make money off their data. The problem is they don't understand or know that that's even an option. It never has been. I remember Zoom back in March through August of 2023, they got caught. You can Google it. They were sharing everyone's data with their AI. And people got upset about it. But what could you do? You could go to Microsoft Teams, you could go to Google Meet. Those guys are better at mining data than Zoom is. So there was no safe haven to run to until now. That's what Arlink is. This is a blockchain-based platform. I don't own it. I actually have voting rights as a node owner. I have voting rights as a coin holder. I have voting rights as a community builder. There's 3 branches of governance, but the whole community owns this platform. Not one person, not Mark Zuckerberg, not Sam Altman or Bill Gates, not Google, Sergey Brin and Larry Page. It's owned by the users, which means we own and control our data, which means we can monetize that data. I know Curtis is getting rewards just for using the platform because we're in his room. I almost always make people use my room, but Curtis is like, oh, you're on a cruise just in case your internet. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I like using Curtis's room. I want him to get, I can see the rewards he's been earning. So it's pretty cool because Zoom was never going to pay us to do meetings or to share our meeting platform with others. And we get rewarded for that as well. The blockchain allows for that ownership to belong to the user base. And there's really a couple areas where we are light years ahead of the rest of the world in blockchain technology. Number one, how do you make the blockchain simple? And I would even call it invisible, easy to use. My mom doesn't know what HTML is. She doesn't know what an SSL certificate is. I don't really know how that stuff works that well either, but we can watch our shows on Netflix. We can check out ESPN Plus and see our team play if they're not on the regular TV. We can pay our credit card bill, check our bank statements, send emails, get on meetings like this. The internet, it makes all of our lives more efficient, more entertaining, easier to access information, and we don't have to understand how to code. But that's because entrepreneurs made it so. Back in the early 80s, 1983 is when IP, TCP, like the Internet Protocol code went live. I remember I had some buddies that were high-level operators in the Navy, and they were sending emails back in the 80s. I think IBM was maybe using some email. I'm sure Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, those guys. But people like me, it was the 90s, mid-90s, late 90s before we started using email, and Google hit, and then Amazon, PayPal, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel. Entrepreneurs came in and made the internet available for the world. No one has done that with blockchain technology yet, except for us. We're at the forefront of that. My mom can use her credit card, sign up for this platform, and she's using blockchain and has no idea she's using blockchain. That's how it has to be. You have to make it easy for the world to participate, or they won't participate. Right now, about 93% of the world is not participating because it's difficult, it's complex to use blockchain technology, but we've made it easy. The second area that we are light years ahead of the rest of the blockchain world, we tie revenue into the blockchain. What I mean by that, if you look at something like Bitcoin, I said earlier, I think it should be at least $2 million a coin. Now, that's my opinion. Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies thinks it should be 18 million a coin. Elon Musk is somewhere in between the two of us. And then you've got Warren Buffett's a smart guy. He thinks it should be worth 0. At the end of the day, it's all just subjective. It's just our opinion. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. I have no problem with subjective valuation. A lot of investments are valued subjectively. But if you look at a company like Apple, it's not my opinion that Apple is a valuable company. Last year, their gross profit was just over $195 billion for the year. The world knows Apple is valuable because the math tells us they're valuable. If your profit is $195 billion a year, you're valuable. We're bringing that objective value into blockchain for the first time. As users sign up and pay for our service, and it's not just the Arlink service. We have a digital twin or a digital assistant called Opperly, which after a meeting like this, it's in beta now. I've got a few buddies that are using it on their iPhones. I've still got a Droid. I gotta one of these days I'm gonna get an iPhone, but I like my Droid. I don't like to learn new things. It's funny being in blockchain tech, and I don't like learning new things in technology. But Opperly, that assistant could come on after a meeting like this for me and say, hey, Tony, you had a great meeting there in Curtis's room. There was over 60 people on the presentation. I went ahead and messaged Curtis and asked him to get everyone's email address and phone number that he had. And I sent them the slideshow that you shared. I sent them a link so they could learn more about the projects. I actually asked everyone if they'd be open to doing a follow-up on Monday at 2 p.m. Central, and 43 people accepted. So I booked that appointment in your calendar. It can handle all that, book flights for you, check you into flights. It'll just create way more efficiency in your day-to-day operation. And that's an extra $50 on top, or you can buy it and use it as a standalone just for 50 bucks. Our business package is $50 here. The white label for 5 rooms, 100 bucks. And then each room after that, you can do $15 or $50 for the business side rooms. And so I'm looking at the ability to use blockchain, and every dollar that comes in to buy our product and service, when my mom swipes her credit card, that money goes in to buy our token. It would almost be like if Jeff Bezos said, when you check out on Amazon, you have to buy Amazon stock. Now, they don't do that, but if they did, the price of their stock would skyrocket. There's not enough sellers at the current price to meet that kind of buy-side demand, and so the price would go up. And then there'd be enough sellers finally that would sell at the price, and you'd get enough buyers that would meet their demand, and you'd have a new higher price for the Amazon stock. They can't really do that in a Web 2 environment, a traditional market. That's exactly what we do in the blockchain Web 3 environment. We create objective value. Our coin is valuable because everybody's using the products and the services. And so what I knew about blockchain, and I'd done well in the cryptocurrency space, but I could never move the needle. I think what got Curtis, and I know what got me so excited about a project like this, I can't tweet about Dogecoin like Elon Musk and make it go up. I can't tweet about the Rally token and make it go up. But I knew I could add 1 million users onto a platform like this. I knew with Curtis and his network, he could probably add more users than me. And I felt like if we started to work together as entrepreneurs, it was almost like we're stacking the deck in our favor. And that's really what we're looking for now, are people that can help us work together to stack the deck in our favor. There's 2 simple ways to be involved in our project with helping us build our community. One, you can operate nodes. There's node software. It's like buying the chickens and laying the eggs. You can operate those nodes, which generate our tokens. There's 3 different levels of node software. There's a $250, what we call a droid level. It's like a mini node, generates a few tokens every day. You've got a light node called a block bot. That's $2,500. That generates more tokens and gets you a little bit more of those rewards. And then you've got what we call a smart node. They're a little over $14,000 each, I think, right now. That generates quite a few tokens compared to the block bot or the droid, the smaller nodes. Now, what's cool about node software, if you're living in the United States, it's classified as off-the-shelf software. And you can actually depreciate off-the-shelf software. And bonus depreciation actually just moved up to 100%. Right now, which is great. The big beautiful bill kind of took it up. In 2023, I bought a lot of node software, millions of dollars worth of node software, and I only got 80% depreciation, which was better than 0 year 1 depreciation, but certainly not as good as the current year. I always say get with your own tax people, your tax attorneys, CPAs, whoever you use for your taxes. But our legal team will happily meet with your team. Our accounting team will meet with your accounting team and explain kind of how the off-the-shelf software is set up. They'll know how to depreciate software. Most accountants have probably done that for their business clients already. If their clients bought, Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel or the 365 or any type of software, QuickBooks, you can write that off as well. And so we can help people that want to buy the nodes, help us operate the blockchain community, the blockchain network. You can set it up on your own computer, which very few people do that. You got to kind of know your computer stuff. Or you can do what I do, and I think what Curtis does. We use a third party and we can help set you up with a third party that'll run your software for you, and you can get those rewards for helping us run our blockchain network. The second way to help our community grow is just that, help us build our community. If you are using Zoom, I would tell you to give Arlink a try. If you know people or companies that are using Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, I would say, hey, what if they could have their own branded solution that had better presentation, better conversion, and saved them money? Share it with them and let them become a part of our community as a customer. And if you can help us grow our community, you can get a lot of rewards for doing that. I know my buddy that made over 40 million on the Gala project, he never built the community. He just bought a bunch of nodes and that was it. He ran them and he built his other companies and never thought twice. And then when the price of the token skyrocketed for Gala, he started selling some of it and sold over $40 million worth. I've got another buddy, John T. John didn't have near the money my buddy Tomas had. So he actually bought like 10 grand worth of nodes. That's all he could afford. And he built the community. And he brought in quite a few people. And he ended up earning over $48 million in around the same time frame that my buddy Tomas made 40. And so it was knowing that when I got involved, I was like, I'm going to do both. Like I was going to buy a lot more nodes than my buddy Tomas did. And I was going to build a lot bigger community than my buddy John T did. And that's what I've been doing. And we're looking for people that want to do both. And like I said, there's 3 different levels of the node software from $250, $2,500, and then you got like near 14,000. So again, not everybody's in a position to do the bigger nodes, but certainly most people can do one of the smaller nodes if that lines up better with your current situation. But it's free to join the community. Whoever invited you on to our meeting, they can send you a link. You can sign up for free and you can help us start building the community. So that's really what's exciting for us. And if you're someone that says, hey, I think I can help you guys grow. I know a lot of people that do video conferences, or I know a lot of people that spend a lot of their day going through messages and emails and their calendar. And if you had an AI assistant where you owned and controlled your data, and it would help you go through your emails, go through your messages, answer, emails, answer messages for you, summarize those answers, build everything into your calendar, book flights. A lot of people would use that platform. And if you said, hey, I've got people that would be interested, then help us build our community. I want to be one of the first to welcome you if you do make that decision. And hopefully we get a chance to meet in person in the near future. Curtis, I'll turn it back over to you if you have any other things you'd like to add. Happy to have you share.
Yeah, well, Tony, I know first of all, I hope you can share this. You got a couple other projects that you're working on. That one that's really kind of intriguing to me, and it's competing against the TikTok, the swap shop. You want to talk just a little bit about that project that's going to be kicking off, maybe?
Yeah, we have. It's called Pixa. We actually have the platform we've already paid for, and it's almost like if you're doing social selling, it doesn't pull up. My internet's a little slow. I don't know if you've downloaded Pixa yet. You can download it on the App Store or the Play Store, but it's basically where you can flip through. People can put content on, and if I put this stream onto Pixa, and you said, "Wow, I like that bag," and your wife clicked on it, she could buy it. It's a Toomey bag. It would know. We would say, oh, that's a Toomey bag, and I like it, and she could buy it, and my wife would get a little kickback for putting that bag into the background of the screen. And so it's a social selling app. And what's cool, if you bought that bag, what we do is we take the fiat currency, turn it into our token. And then Toomey would probably just want currency. So we would just turn it right back into currency and give them the dollars to buy that. And then they give us a kickback. And so every transaction goes in to buy our token out of the open market. And if you have that kind of buy side pressure, again, it's up to us, people like Curtis, myself, you guys, Michael. I know there's already people that are involved in our community, can help us drive that revenue up, which helps us drive the value of the token even higher.
I love it. I love it. Tony, if you don't mind, I know on Tuesday night we kind of kept it kind of short, but we've got a few people that may have some questions here. We've got several business owners on here. I'm going to hit this and hopefully they can unmute themselves, and currently muted. So if you have a question, you can either
We've got
raise
one
your
in the
hand.
chat.
Okay, if you want to address that.
I'll answer that. So Max says, are you still doing Gala? If not, why? Also, can you pull the rug out from under us like the last companies? I guess, you know, what 7K did definitely would be what I would consider a rug pull for sure. So Gala, I never actually bought the nodes, unfortunately. I wish I would have. My friends that did buy the nodes actually still get tokens to this day. Had I done that purchase, it would probably, this is probably even worse for me. Not only would I have been able to sell $11 million worth, but I'd still probably make, at this point, maybe 10 to 20,000 a month in tokens would still be coming in from running those nodes. So Gala, they had over 50,000 people that had nodes that generated around a little over 1.2 million from running those nodes over a 3-year time frame, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I would say we made a lot of mistakes with Gala. We didn't have near the revenue. Gaming is kind of up and down. You know, not long ago there were, you know, billions people playing Farmville. Now not many people play Farmville anymore. So games go up and down. So Gala kind of went through that same cycle. But for me, I think probably my favorite thing about blockchain is the answer about like changing compensation or doing what your last company did to you. The only way that could happen here is if we as a community voted on it to happen. We actually just changed the compensation package February 14th. The vote finished. It was like a 3-day vote. The community called for a vote, passed that vote, and we have a revenue share that was 10% of the daily revenue was split amongst the community builders. It's basically the top 50,000 builders, the top 5,000, the top 500, and the top 50. There were 4 revenue sharing pools. The community voted because they can see how much it costs us to operate as a company. And the bigger we got, the less it costs to operate. And so they changed that revenue share from 10% up to 30%. So that was a full community vote. The only way the compensation plan can change, the tokenomics can change, the distribution of the tokens can change, is if the entire community votes on it. And it's a blockchain-based vote. And so I always say, you know, I guess the community could vote to stop paying all of ourselves, but very seldomly do you vote to kind of chop your own hand off. So I don't foresee that as something that we would vote on. It would be like a suicidal vote if we were making good money with the project. So that's probably my favorite thing about blockchain is we own it. There is no owner. You're getting paid on a smart contract. Nobody's mailing you a check. It's a wallet. The money just hits it. It doesn't care if it's you or not. You can hand your wallet to your kids, your grandkids, as long as there was still revenue, that wallet is going to get funding every single day that the revenue is coming in. I got Jamie says, when a company white labels, are they able to sign up their network or conf calls within their own white label? Absolutely. Yeah, you can sign people up. We let the white label companies, if they want to increase the pricing, they can sign people up and make the delta. They can actually make a profit, and they get tokens. They get rewarded for growing as well. Anyone else? You should be able to unmute, I guess, if you have a question as well. I see some other people are typing, and you can raise your hand as well if you want.
Tony, you want to talk about the translation? I know that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, I kind of skipped that. So, yeah, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little CC, a closed caption, and it's a toggle switch. You can turn the closed captions on, and you'll start to see English pop up at the bottom of your screen, and you can change it. Like I live in Puerto Rico most of the year, so I just clicked it to Spanish, and now everything I'm saying, I'm seeing in Spanish right now. And if you chose Chinese, you would be seeing Chinese right now instead of Spanish, English. What's cool, we're probably 6 to 10 months out from verbal. We've been testing it. It's just a little too much lag. But imagine you chose Spanish and you're hearing my voice speaking perfect Spanish and my lips matching up, and Curtis chooses Japanese. And at the same time you're hearing Spanish, he's hearing Japanese, and my lips are matching up for him in Japanese. So it's making the world a much smaller place. But even with just the captions, I did a meeting the other day. I had a guy out of El Salvador, a guy in Brazil speaking pretty fast Portuguese. I was speaking English. So we had Spanish, English, and Portuguese. We had a 45-minute business meeting. No translator needed to come in and help us. I just read what they were asking, answered their questions, had some follow-up questions of my own. They read it in their native language, answered in their language. I could read everything they were saying. It was pretty easy. And I just felt like, man, what a small world we're going to create when we have the verbal.
There they are.
He's all over the world, for sure.
I'm the perfect thing you need.
Yeah, I think somebody might have got unmuted by accident. Let's see. We'll mute him back.
No worries.
All right, Tony. Unless somebody's got anything else, I'm going to let you get back to it. I just really appreciate you jumping on here. I don't.
Kathy says share a little about Opperly. You can actually. I'll pull it up and put it in the chat. Let me pull up the right. It's Opperly AI. So let me pull this up. App. I'm going to send this over to.
If you had a Mac, you could just copy and paste right from your messages right into the chat.
I should do that, but I'm not smart enough to operate a Mac, so I just sent it to Curtis. I could probably pull it up from here now that I sent it to Curtis. So it's the app.getOpperly. Let me see if this will let you log in. I'm gonna put it in the chat right down here, and you guys can check this out. If you sign up with the same email that you use to sign up in the community, it'll link you. Switch is our banking blockchain. I don't have enough time to get into that, but we can definitely. That's Kathy Roberts' project. We can definitely get into that down the road on a different call. Just allowing people to get out of fiat and into crypto and back into fiat if they need to. So the Opperly, it is that digital assistant I talked about, and you can get it. You can start playing with it right now, and it's something that, especially if you have Apple, you can get it on the App Store. The Droid, the Play Store, it should be coming by next week. Hopefully, it takes a little longer to get on Android. Maybe it's like in the caveman stage still. The Apple's so far ahead of us that you Mac people. But yeah, you can start playing with it right now and start using it right now. And I've got friends that are in the beta that are saying 5 to 10 days of training, and it tells you how to train it. It gets pretty good, and it'll start helping you save a lot of time from your day-to-day operations. So,
all right. Anybody else before we go, Tony? I just want to say again, thank you. But I've seen a couple of unmuted. I didn't know if somebody were good there. Thanks, Tony. Okay, Tony. Again, thank you for jumping on here. Taking time out of your busy schedule. Tell your wife thank you. I know that's time away from her too, but she has to listen to it in the background. So anyway, just appreciate you. And
somebody's got to pay for these cruises, she said.
There you go.
Yeah, it's her. She's the president of our accounting firm. So I'm just making magic internet money. She makes the real stuff. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. And if you guys are a guest on here, please get back with the person that invited you, and we'll get your questions answered. And again, this is one of many overviews that we'll do. And if you want to unmute yourself and just let Tony know how much you appreciate him before he goes. Have a good night, everyone.
Appreciate it, Tony.
Thanks,
appreciate it,
Tony,
Curtis.
that was awesome.
Thanks, Curtis. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks,
Tony.
Tony.
Everybody.
Great. Love it.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.